So this tutorial is going to be all about ionic compounds. Ionic bonds are formed when atoms gain and lose electrons. So typically, an ionic bond is between a metal and a nonmetal. So most importantly, as the name states, an ionic bond is ultimately, an ionic bond is between opposing charges, so a positive and a negative charge. An ion has either a positive or a negative charge. There are two names to indicate the type of ion. The first is a cation. A cation has a positive charge because it has lost electrons in order to fulfill the octet rule. The second one is an anion. An anion is a negative charge and it has gained electrons in order to fulfill the octet rule. Just to review, what is an octet rule? It is when an element wants to be stable, therefore it has a full valence shell and it has a total of 8 valence electrons. Here's where the periodic table really plays a role when determining the type of ion an element is going to have. If it exists on the first column, it's going to form +1, second column +2, third column +3, fifth column -3, sixth column -2, seventh column -1, and the final column are the noble gases, and they have a full octet, so they form a 0 charge. All right, we're going to go ahead and practice. So you need your periodic table in order to do this. This is also on your worksheet. So if we look at bromine on the periodic table, you'll notice it's in the 7th column, so it has 7 valence electrons. Now it's easier for it to gain 1 rather than losing 7, so I'm going to go ahead and say it gains, and it's going to gain 1. Okay, so we're going to write the ion symbol, which is Br for the element symbol. And since it's gaining, it's going to be a negative, and it gains 1, so it's -1. Its valence configuration will be whatever energy level, the outermost energy level, 4s2, 4p6. Okay. For sodium, it has 1 valence electron. Now, is this going to be easier to lose 1 or gain 7? This time, it's easier to lose 1. And therefore, since sodium is Na, that's the element symbol, it's going to lose 1, which means it's a positive sign, and it has a +1. Now, what is its electron configuration? It is going to be just like the 2s2, 2p6, just like neon. All right, go ahead and finish this table, and then also finish the ion worksheet, and we will come back to this worksheet. So let's go ahead and talk about the types of ions we're going to encounter in an ionic compound. The first type are called monoatomic ions. This means that it's an ion formed from a single atom. And so some examples are sodium ion and chlorine ion. The second type is called a polyatomic ion. This time you have elements that are bonded together through a covalent bond, and they have an overall charge. So here are some examples and that you may see. It's called phosphate, nitrate, carbonate, sulfate, hydroxide, and ammonium. If you notice, they all have an overall charge. Phosphate has a -3, nitrate has a -1, carbonate has a -2, sulfate has a -2, hydroxide has a -1, and ammonium has a +1. Now, these are just a few that you're going to have to memorize. I will give you a list in which you need to memorize a few of them. So please make sure you memorize them, because we will have pop quizzes until the end of the school year. So the third kind of ion we're going to encounter is called a transition metal. And transition metals exist in the D block, and they can have multiple types of ions. So let me give you an example. Iron 2+ and iron 3+. Now, Since D block is special, we've talked about this in class why transition metals can have multiple charges. In order for us to determine when we're talking about the name, they're indicated by a Roman numeral. So for example, iron 2 plus would be written out as iron Roman numeral 2, and iron 3 plus would be written out as iron Roman numeral 3. Now, I just want to let you know there are some transition metals that are special, and these are silver, zinc, and cadmium. They only form one type of ion. Silver is a +1, zinc is a +2, and cadmium is a +2. And you just need to memorize this, okay? I will not let you know. And so therefore, since they only form one type of ion, you do not need Roman numerals for them. Now, let's go ahead and do magnesium. If we were to do this magnesium, we're going to look in the periodic table where it is. It's not in the D block, so we can go ahead and just write magnesium, and it's in the second column, so we would put Mg2+. Here's iron 3, Roman numeral 3. This means I would write Fe for the symbol, and then 3 plus as indicated by the Roman numeral 3. Okay? Nitrate is one of the polyatomic ions, so this is just something that you have to memorize, and it would be NO3. The whole entire thing has a charge of a -1, not just the oxygen. And finally, silver was one of the exceptions, so silver is Ag+1. Please complete the worksheet that you have entitled Ion Worksheet and practice both sides of that worksheet. Then move on to the next tutorial video.